scriptures there. And even when we signed the peace treaty the next year in 1783, and by the way, the 4 people you see on the peace treaty signatures there, the guy on the right, halfway off the screen, is David Hartley, the British ambassador. Moving from right to left, you see the 3 Americans, Ben Franklin, John Adams, and John Jay. Those are the 4 that signed the treaty. If you want to see the treaty, you go to Washington, D.C., to the State Department. You go up on the 6th floor of the John Quincy Adams State Drawing Room, and you get to see the treaty. And if you look at the treaty, you'll see the 4 wax seals. See on the bottom left there, David Hartley, the British ambassador, then John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, John Jay, and you see at the top left, there's 10 articles to the treaty that established American independence. We declared it with the Declaration. We established it with this peace treaty. And by the way, look at the title the Founding Fathers put on the peace treaty. See the title on the top right? In the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity. I could be wrong, but that sounds Christian to me. They say, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, a Trinitarian invocation, in the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity. And today we're told, oh no, they wouldn't want under God in the Pledge of Allegiance. They wouldn't want in God we trust out in public. Really? When they have acknowledgments like that on official documents, it was that way throughout the American Revolution. And John Adams, who saw it, John Adams, who signed not only the Declaration, but he's one of only 3 that signed the peace treaty 8 years later. John Adams said it as clearly as could be said. The general principles on which the fathers achieved independence were the general principles of Christianity. Now, we spend a lot of time today saying, no, he didn't know what he was talking about. I love collecting articles from professors and others. Here's one that ran recently, Stephen Morris, who said the Founding Fathers were not Christians. I don't care what John Adams said, he didn't know what he's talking about. I love it that 200 years later, we're so much smarter than the guys who were actually there, who actually saw it, you know. But we got PhDs, so we know what we're talking about. They didn't have PhDs. So we get articles like this, and here's the LA Times. The LA Times says America's unchristian beginnings. They said the Founding Fathers were deists who rejected the divinity of Jesus. Whole chain of newspapers out on the East Coast ran this article, said the authors of the Declaration were enemies of Christ. And I speak at law schools and universities across the nation. Last several years, the most widely used book I've seen has been one called The Godless Constitution. We specifically tell the next generation of Americans that America has lasted this long because we've been secular from the beginning. We have a godless constitution, and that's why we've been such a great nation. Now, how do we know it's a godless constitution? Because as you just saw in the articles, all the Founding Fathers who wrote it were all godless. I mean, the Founding Fathers were atheists and agnostics and deists, and you can't expect a bunch of secular guys to give you something religious. No, godless founders give you a godless constitution. Now, a lot of people buy into that, and I was recently at a major law school, a very prestigious law school, and I put up the picture of the 56 signers of the Declaration. I said, students, all these postgraduate kids in law school, and I said, who do you recognize up there? And everyone instantly found Thomas Jefferson, everyone instantly found Benjamin Franklin. And that's exactly where it stopped. And I said, no, wait a minute. There's 56 up there, and you found 2? Give me some of the others. And I said, let's just go across the front row. You point out to me which one of these guys is Richard Henry Lee, which one is George Clinton, which one is Sam Adams. Just continue across the front row. Which one is Charles Carroll, and which one is Robert Morris, and which one is Benjamin Rush. And let's go back up to the second row. Which one is Stephen Hopkins, and which one is William Williams. And back to the front row, the guy leaning on his arm, that's Elbridge Gerry, and right beside him is Robert Tree Payne. And I just go through the other 54 names, and they say, who? We've never heard of those names before. Isn't it interesting that we've all been trained to recognize the 2 least religious Founding Fathers? We can find Jefferson, we can find Franklin, we can't find any others, but it doesn't matter. They're all like Jefferson and Franklin anyway. Really? Did you know out of the 56 guys who signed the Declaration of Independence, 29 of them had seminary degrees? That's not bad for a bunch of atheists to have seminary degrees, and apparently that's what we had going on back then. See, we used to know better than that. We would never have bought into the fact that they were secular or they wanted a secular nation because we know our history too well. There's actually a great history book that was printed in 1848 that we used in public schools for generations. It's called Lives of the Signers of the Declaration of Independence. We've actually reprinted that, but it has 4, 5, 6 pages on every one of those 56 signers. And in public schools for years, we knew everyone. We knew their faith, we knew their character, we knew all about them, but we don't today. See, folks we don't talk about today include folks like signer of the Declaration, John Witherspoon. Now, John Witherspoon, one of the most prominent signers of the Declaration, he served on over 100 committees in Congress, including the Board of War. He's George Washington's boss in the Revolution. He's also the president of Princeton University. He's also the best-known gospel evangelist in American history back then, has more than a dozen volumes of published gospel sermons. Americans couldn't wait for his next volume of sermons to come out. And he's also responsible for 2 American editions of the Bible, including this one right here. This is original from 1791. This is done by Dr. John Witherspoon, signer of the Declaration. This is considered America's very first family Bible. He did this Bible so that families could have